Hi everyone, and welcome to Back to School with Vee. I'm your host with the most, Dr. Vee Kativhu, and this is the show where we bring world leaders, icons, and changemakers back to the classroom to test their memory, but most importantly, to remind us all why education matters. Today, we have a very, very special new student joining us. He is a 20-time Grand Slam champion, widely regarded as one of the greatest tennis players of all time. Beyond the court, he's dedicated his life to something even bigger, ensuring that children have access to quality early education. Throughout his foundation, he's helped over 3 million children and trained nearly 60,000 teachers. Please help me in welcoming Roger Federer.
Hi, Vee. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Super good. Nice to see you again.
Thank you. It's so good to see you. The last time I saw you was at the UN in New York.
Right.
And now here we are in Switzerland.
Thank you for coming.
Of course. How does it feel to be back in school?
Oh, a little nervous, you know. I haven't been there for a long time. I feel like I should do more of it again, you know. Get uncomfortable, you know. But it's exciting. Nice to see you. I'm looking forward to it.
Of course. And we're going to get straight into our history class because we're taking you back to school. And I know you've had such great success on the courts. But today we're in my classroom and I'm not an easy teacher. So best of luck.
Thank you.
So first up, we have our history class. Take us back to this little boy right here. I would love to know, what kind of student do you remember yourself as? Were you the one that got in trouble a lot, or were you the one doing extra homework?
No, I was not the extra homework guy. That's for sure, because I felt I had to put in extra work to keep up with math or with all the different subjects we were having in class, because my mind was always wandering and wanted to do more sports and wanted to play football and wanted to play tennis. So in school for me it was more actually seeing my friends, being together. Sure, learning as well was very important to us in Switzerland. My parents, they believed very much that education was crucial.
So when you look back, how did your education up until that point at 16 multiply possibility for you? When you look at all you've done now, how has it helped you become who you are?
You learn about hard work and about being socially stronger. Being also disciplined about waking up and going to school, and here with the backpack, getting my stuff organized. So I feel like that's obviously set me up nicely. And then I think just being also aware of who else is in the classroom, being aware that we're not all the same. It's one big melting pot in the classroom, and having actually some, understanding for the other person. I learned a lot of tolerance as well early on, and I think that's where obviously education, school can be very, very beneficial. And you also have to stand up for yourself sometimes, because kids can be very, very honest. And that can hurt sometimes.
And I'm so glad you mentioned about children learning together, and you were among so many different people from all around the world. And that's exactly the kind of work that you are doing through your foundation, where you are providing quality early education to children aged between 3 to 12 across 6 countries in Southern Africa, including Zimbabwe, which is where I was born. So that feels very near and dear to my heart. And I know your mom, as you mentioned, is from South Africa as well. So all of this feels so connected. That's my neighbour, So thank you for that work. And can you tell me a little bit more about what you're doing at your foundation and what drives you to do that work?
Look, it's super passionate for me to be able to give back and spend time on philanthropy and helping children, who don't have it as easy or good, like here in Switzerland, where the quality is just a given, even though we also complain sometimes that we feel like it could even be better. But, in Southern Africa or in many parts of the world, it's just not like that. So I feel being able to change, make positive change and have an impact on the ground is an incredible feeling. So that's obviously something that's really important to me personally, also to my parents, my wife, my children, and the whole board of the Roger Federer Foundation, because we try in the best way possible to give the kids a chance, to have a really great start to life in school, because we've seen it obviously, and the research really does show that when kids actually do have a chance to go to primary school, pre-primary, or even kindergarten or school, whatever you want to call it, they become such better citizens. They can help their villages out, and inequality is lesser. So I just we try to do good. Still a lot to learn. We're 21 years into the foundation now, but still I feel like it's early days for me, and I'm still learning every day. So I'm going to keep on trying.
As an education advocate, I'm so proud that you chose to do this work. And we know that it's obviously making a big difference, and that connects so deeply to what we are doing at the Global Partnership for Education, trying to make sure that every child gets that quality education, and that the earlier we invest, the greater and bigger those outcomes are, not just for the child, like you mentioned, but for the entire community. So now you can speak multiple languages. I'm curious, what are those languages and how long have you spoken each of those?
So grew up with Swiss German and English. The Swiss German language is only learned through speaking with your friends and so forth. So obviously I think as a Swiss country we need to preserve that as well, because you know how it is, as we get more and more international, sometimes these languages get lost a little bit, but I still think Swiss German will be very strong. But it's quite difficult to teach your kid Swiss German, you know, if all of a sudden, like we do at home, sometimes speak English to our children, you know, so that they don't get maybe in touch with enough Swiss German. But so Swiss German will be my first, then with English, my mom always speaking also English to me growing up. And then I had all my coaches, you know, speaking English as well to me, because I had Australian coaches and Swedish coaches. And then, well, you also learn German naturally in kindergarten and school. Which then happens actually very naturally, and it's very close to Swiss German, so you have to imagine Swiss German as being a dialect of German essentially. So if you want, it's 4 languages I speak, but I say it's 3, because for me Swiss German and German are literally the same.
Wow, that's really incredible. I can only imagine what brain do you think in, like when you're really angry, what comes out. You know, people always ask me and I say, I think in my home language, Shona from Zimbabwe, but then I have to translate it to come out in English. So I can't imagine having 4 languages. But
I have a lot to choose from, a lot of different, a wide range of words I can choose from when I'm angry. No, but
I love that. Well, if you choose one of those languages, maybe Swiss German, could you teach me how to say, hey friends, let's go back to school? Could you teach me that?
Say, Sali zusammen, jetzt gehen wir zurück in die Schule.
Whoa. Sali zusammen.
Jetzt gehen wir zurück in die Schule.
Ja.
Jetzt.
Alle zu.
Jetzt gehen wir.
Jetzt gehen wir.
Alle zurück in die Schule.
In Schule.
Yeah.
Oh, school.
Now we're all going back to school.
Yeah, of course.
Well done.
Thank you. That's difficult.
Yeah, it actually did. I realized it did sound more difficult than when you say it yourself. You're like, okay, it's like you.
It just rolls off the tongue.
Totally. Yeah.
But thank you for teaching me that. And I know you've mentioned you've got 4 beautiful children, and you've also helped millions of other children all around the world access education, and that really is incredible. And we still have a long way to go. If you had 30 seconds to have all the world leaders gathered in one room just to say to them why it's important to really fund education and make it a priority, what would you say to them?
Education to me seems like it's an investment. It's something you put money towards that hopefully, and actually research does show, it will pay dividends in the future, you know, and it will show it by having less inequality, more opportunities, making your country stronger. Switzerland, a very well-educated country. I think we have lesser problems, you know, and I think if other countries could have a similar standard of school, I mean, we know what would come out of it, you know. But even if you just have a very strong brother or a very strong mother who's well-educated, she can then support the village or the family in such an incredible way. So I think that the investment is really worthwhile. I would love to see more of it.
And this is exactly what GPE's Multiply Possibility campaign is all about, helping children to discover their passions in and out of the classroom through play, learning, and being able to take those passions onto a global stage and then give back to others in a very similar way that you've done. And this is what happens when we multiply possibilities. And just like that, Roger, you have completed Back to School with Vee. Congratulations. Thank you for sitting through all of our classes. Then I'll obviously have your final grade. And report is in. You got an A+.
Okay.
Congratulations.
You're too sweet. Thank you.
Of course, of course. And obviously nobody can graduate without getting a yearbook photo.
Okay.
So we're going to take one right now. Are you ready?
Am I smiling or not smiling? What is the stand?
Definitely smile.
Smile.
Like, give us your best smile so that we'll remember this. You ready?
Yes. Oh,
Just like the old school style. Okay.
very nice.
Put that down like this. Okay, so we have your photo. I'm going to give you this. Of course, you must sign the yearbook. And I've put you down as the one most likely to be a champion of early education. Get it? Because you're a champion and you're a champion. Oh, that's lovely. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Roger, thank you so much for coming back to school with me. I really appreciate it. From the courts to the classrooms, you are proof that champions are made when we invest in early education. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vee. Love being here.
You're welcome.
You do such a good job, by the way. I hope people let you know.
I appreciate that. I call myself the host with the most, you know?
Oh, so good.
And to everyone watching, if you believe that every child deserves a chance to learn, then please do go to globalpartnership.org and see how you can multiply possibility. And with that, class dismissed.
Done.